Welcome back. So for this video, we are going to be going over scraping and masking, which are both really interesting techniques that use some non-conventional materials. So for this technique, I'm going to be using my flat brush. And I have some phthalo blue and yellow and white that I'm going to be working with. I also have pulled out some blue painter's tape. You could also use masking tape. In a pinch, you could probably even use some transparent tape. But you want to make sure that whatever you use, you stick to your clothing first so that it picks up some of the fuzz from your clothing. It creates a barrier between the adhesive and your paper and canvas. If you're working on canvas, you don't necessarily need to stick the tape to your clothing because the canvas is not going to tear, but paper will. So you always want to make sure that you take your masking tape, stick it to your clothing like a sweater, and pull it off. And then you'll have nice little fuzzies on it to keep your paper from tearing. For scraping, I use an old gift card, or here I'm going to be using the Blick preferred customer card. I don't think they'll mind. It's an artistic endeavor. So that is also needed, but you could use a piece of cardboard, a hard piece of plastic, an old Tupperware lid, the bottom part of a paint tube. There's a lot of things that you can use to scrape. So to start the scraping technique, we first have to pick up some globs of paint, and globs of paint are always better. So I'm just going to add a couple of the blue, clean my paint off because I want nice bright white. Although I've mixed a couple colors in my white, so I don't know how bright it's going to be, but it is definitely going to be fun. And as I am placing these globs of paint, you can see that I'm spinning my brush. That allows the maximum amount of paint to come off of my brush. So now I'm just going to take my trusty Blick preferred customer card, put it over the paint, but not on top of it. So I'm kind of like just holding it down straight, and I'm going to drag it across my paper, and you can see that the paint scrapes across. Now I do have more paint here on my card here, so I can scrape that across in the other direction, and it does pull some of that paint through. Scraping is a great technique for just creating something that's abstract and fun. And you can add multiple layers of this paint. There are artists who have done whole paintings this way. I went down to Moore College of Art and Design and saw larger than life paintings done just in scraping with teals and golds and silvers, and it was absolutely beautiful. Now masking, completely different technique, involves our tape here. So I took our blue masking tape and I cut it into strips. You can cut it into shapes. And here I'm just laying it down and making sure that the edges are securely on the piece of paper. You can mask out specific areas. You can mask something that has already been painted that you do not want to paint over. Let's say you are working in a value gradation near something that you have already painted, like a planet. So you're creating a value gradation to show the atmosphere around it. You can mask off your planet so that the value gradation can be painted right up near it. Here I'm going to be using my flat brush and picking up some multiple colors and painting them in using little short strokes. I'm not holding my brush to really worry about creating the small strokes that we have here. I am really just concerned with covering with a consistent brush stroke. Whenever you're working in any type of art, I believe that consistency is key. Once you start something, then you should continue doing it. If you have something on your artwork, you should have it on there not just once, but at least twice. Humans like things in threes, so having 3 of whatever you are doing on your artwork is a really nice composition technique. And one more, we'll add in some of this light yellow green. And then typically you wait a little bit for the paint to dry before you pull your masking tape off. But I'm going to pull off this last piece of masking tape so that you can see what it looks like. You can start to see. Okay, so there's my masking technique here. You can see on this finished example, I have hard edges where the yellow shows through the spaces that I have painted. So that allows you to create a really interesting quick design or to hide and save areas that were already painted. So those are 2 unconventional techniques that really help create spaces of texture or a completely different texture that shows the paint through from below. So have fun with those. Make sure that you are checking the techniques against the finished example so that you can see which ones you have accomplished and which ones you have gained mastery in. Circle the ones that you feel you have mastered so that you can remember those are great techniques to use on your finished painting.